I've been living in Europe for 4 years now, and every year I try to find some really cool place. And I almost went to Pompeii before I found this place. Because this city is a hidden gem, and it's the second Roman city that was buried by the same volcano that you see behind me. In this video, I'm going to show you what this city was, what happened to it, and why it's unlike any other European city that you've been to. And the great thing is, it's better preserved, there's fewer crowds, and it's just 20 minutes from Naples city center. Most people have never heard of it, and I went to find out why. This is Herculaneum. It was a city of 4,000 to 5,000 people that was destroyed in 79 AD. Pompeii gets 2.5 million visitors every year, while Herculaneum gets 200,000 to 300,000. So compared to Pompeii, it's not as well known. The thing is, Herculaneum wasn't a grand capital, but rather a wealthy seaside town. The largest villa is believed to be Julius Caesar's father-in-law. That's the kind of people that lived here. It had baths, gymnasiums, theater, street food, wine bars. It was a thriving city, not just a military outpost. In 62 AD, 17 years before the destruction of the city, there was a massive earthquake that shook this city to its core. Buildings were completely destroyed and there were aftershocks for years. Now, when this terrible accident happened, Vesuvius, just like now, hadn't erupted in years. It was covered in vineyards and greenery, and nobody expected it to go off. They were still repairing earthquake damage when the volcano erupted. The crews were still on site, so you can imagine the chaos. The eruption started around 1 p.m. The air blew southeast towards Pompeii. In the beginning, Herculaneum only got a light dusting of ash, and people might have thought that it was okay to stay. Unfortunately, a few hours later, the volcanic column collapsed. And then a 400-degree storm of gas and rock came down upon the city at 80 kilometers per hour. Everything in its path was instantly killed. There were 6 surges in total, and in the end, the whole city was buried under 20 meters of material. The reason this city is better preserved than Pompeii is because Pompeii was buried in ash, which is relatively light, compact material, which is good for preserving outlines, but not organic material. Herculaneum was covered with pyroclastic flow, which is a denser material, and everything it touched was carbonized, so even wood was preserved. It means wooden floors, wooden doors, wooden roofings were preserved exactly as they were when this disaster happened. You can also see that the people of Herculaneum were big fans of painting the walls and making it really pretty. Even after thousands of years, you can see some of the remnants of their artwork, and it's still beautiful. And I find it always so interesting that people even thousands of years ago used to make their houses in very similar ways that we do today. So much so that food was also carbonized on the tables. But the most interesting thing is that 1800 papyrus scrolls, the only intact ancient library in the world, was also found in this place. And scientists are still reading them today using X-ray technology. For almost 200 years after excavations, scientists believed that most people had escaped. And the reason was that not a lot of human remains were found inside the city. But in 1981, workers discovered the old shoreline, several hundred meters inland. And in those arched houses, they found the remains of men, women, and children, all huddled together. These people hadn't been caught off guard. They had escaped the initial eruption, but unfortunately, as soon as the pyroclastic surge reached them, they were killed instantaneously. This is the detail that makes Herculaneum such an interesting ancient city, because it's the story of people who were not killed in their homes, but rather of people who almost made it. Over 75% of the city has never been excavated, because the current city that sits on top of it, Ercolano, would have to be partially demolished. The Villa of Pompeii, which holds the intact library, is still mostly underground. 2 additional floors have been confirmed, but excavation will probably take a while. Every year technology reads more of those scrolls, but there are texts down there that have not been read ever since 79 AD. So if you're in Europe and going to Naples, or even just passing through, this is the kind of history that does not feel like a museum, but rather history that was stopped mid-sentence.